What's going on, guys? This is Kaishiro. Welcome back. So for our videos today, we are going to cover the latest OCG metagame tier list post-October ban list. So these are the decks that are expected to perform after the ban list regulation of October 2023 OCG format ban list. So we do have a lot of decks here and we are going to tackle the tiers here and the decks that are included here on this tier list. So as usual, this tier list was made by Rai_10Y from the Twitter or X and was posted by ESDR's Facebook page for continued patronage. So yeah, thanks again to them for providing quality OCG content. So without further ado, let's start. We have 4 tiers here. We have S tier, A tier, B tier, and C tier. We're going to start first at C tier. At first here we have tier 11. So goodness gracious, I think OCG players will still cope on tier 11s. Even though tier 11s have lost the Kelbeck and Agido, there are still chance that still a slim and good chance that tier 11s can still be playable or be decent on the metagame. I mean, you have things like Horus, you have things like Danger, you have things like Sinful Spoils, you have things like Adventure. There's a lot of things that you should try to consider when you are going to think that tier 11s will be dead after the ban list. I think there's still hope that tier 11s can still perform, but yeah, it is not that strong like before that they are really good because they have Kelbeck and Agido, but right now their power level got weaker, but I still think that tier 11s can still cope, and we never know, to be honest. Tier 11s has been subjected to be dead for the past 3 or 4 ban lists already. Even the first hit on Kit Kalos have been quite controversy on tier 11s whether it could still perform or not. But yeah, we have been proven wrong already for so many times for these tier 11s. So yeah, let's try to find out if tier 11s will still continue to cope. So yeah, I do agree with this one. Tier 11s on C tier. I think we should put respect on the deck for its longevity for good reasons. Next, we have Fluandris. So, Fluandris got their map back to their field spell, their most powerful card on their arsenal. I do think that it is pretty huge for the Fluandris. I do think that Fluandris can perform really well if they have 2 field spells now. They now have 3 copies of field spell, considering that Terraforming is on the deck list. So, they are now more consistent. They now have more ways to play around Ash Blossom. And the only thing that makes Fluandris struggle right now is the mid-range oriented format where Imperms, Veilers, and even Ghost Ogre are very prevalent on the format because of the metagame shape that we have here right now on a mid-range oriented format. But other than that, I think that Empen is a really nice board right now. I mean, there's a lot of handful of link-based decks that are doing quite well on the format. We have the Dragon Link. We do have also Tri-Brigade, Sprite Tri-Brigade, and Tri-Brigade variants of Fire King and Lyrilusk. And also we have Unchained. So there's a handful of link-based decks on the format. Even Rescue Ace goes into link summoning. So yeah, I think that Fluandris can really halt those decks, those link-based decks on the format. And also Ryza is very absurd. It is a very problematic card to be dealt with when facing against Fluandris. And also Avian gives them a little bit of protection to protect their board. So yeah, I think that Fluandris is still a viable deck right now on the format, and it is a prospect that this deck can still perform and do well for the remainder of the October banlist format. So yeah, at C tier we have Fluandris. I definitely agree on this one. Next we have Fire King here. This is a very tight and questionable spot right now for Fire King because Fire King has been performing ever since they have been released on the Fire King structure deck, new Fire King structure deck recently, and I don't think that tier C is justifiable for Fire Kings. I definitely think that this should be on a high B tier or low A tier at least because Fire King has been a very represented deck recently. But yeah, I think the author of this tier list has his reasons on why he did put the Fire King on the C tier. Maybe he thinks that the deck is on pedestal maybe we should consider the time that this deck has got into the format because it is fairly new on the format. So we need to have more solid proof and results for Fire King to be able to categorize this deck as one of the best decks on the format. So yeah, other than that, I don't see any reasons why Fire King is on the C tier. I mean, the deck can still be very proactive when going second. You have the rank 8 Fire Monster of Fire King that can nuke board. And also the Fire King going first is kinda decent as well. So yeah, I think this deck is very good right now. If you are trying to pick up a deck that is far away from the ban list, safe from the ban list, and no further hits that will happen, I think you should definitely consider Fire King as a deck to pick up right now because it is strong and it is not that overly saturated right now. So yeah, I think this is very safe from the ban list, even the next ban list. So yeah, Fire King at C tier. I should move this Fire King to B tier at least. And the next we have Invoke Dogmatica Sinful Spoils. So I think this deck is relevant here for quite some time now. I think this Invoke Dogmatica Sinful Spoils will be here for a good time because Winda is a very powerful win condition. We can never argue that Winda can definitely shut down a lot of decks here. Pendulum Magician struggle against Winda, even Centurion, even Horus decks, and even Rescue Ace. So yeah, Winda is definitely a powerful board right now on the format paired with Sinful Spoils that can have an extra negation on their side of the field so that they can protect their Winda from board breakers and other stuff that may hurt their Winda. And on top of that, they have Mekaba as an Omni Negate as well. So yeah, the board is really powerful right now from Invoke Dogmatica Sinful Spoils, and also Maximus is a very insane card for this deck. And yeah, I think this is a very notable deck to look upon right now on C tier. I think this deck is really good right now on the format. If you want to catch people off guard, I think Invoke Dogmatica Sinful Spoils is a good deck to do that. So yeah, that sums up our C tier. If I'm going to make adjustments on the C tier, I am going to put Dragon Link here on C tier. I assume even though they lost the Chaos Ruler, I think that Dragon Link is still very relevant. I think that Dragon Link has that gas or enough resources to be able to play around boards and to be able to set up as well a very recognizable and decent board on the format. So yeah, Dragon Link here. And then next we have B tier. Next we have Branded. So the mighty have fallen. Branded has been a very staple deck on A tier and even S tier for quite some time before, but now they have been gutted into B tier right now. So yeah, Branded has been falling off the charts recently, but there's a good reason for that. Other decks got better, and there's a lot of newer decks that is more supported, like Centurion and Penmagi. So yeah, it is quite a shame that Branded has been falling off recently, but I think that this deck is still very decent. A very plausible mid-range deck, can play 9 to 6 hand traps, and also can make a very decent board as well with the Mirror Jade and Gugnol and other stuff on the Branded. I think that this deck is still very strong right now. The only bane that this deck is currently facing right now is Ash Blossom on Branded Fusion. I think that this is very huge against Branded. Ash Blossom is on everyone's main deck. That's why this deck cannot go into higher ranks on this tier list, because Ash Blossom really hurts a lot against them. And also yeah, Branded has been a very staple deck for quite some time, since 2021. This deck is on the meta tier list. So yeah, I think it's about time to dust off their meta relevance on this tier list. And yeah, I think this is in a very good spot right now. I even thought that Banlist would hit Aluber or something like any hits against Branded, because this is a very long deck here already on this tier list. But yeah, I think Branded will be still relevant after this ban list. And then next we have Horus. I assume this is Horus Orcus, because Horus Tyrions is not that represented enough to be considered here for me. So yeah, Horus Orcus, I think This is also a very strong deck right now. They have buffed from the Banlist. Orcus got even stronger from the Banlist and paired with Horus that abuses the discard mechanics of the Orcus within the Horus archetype. They now have a lot of discard fathers on this Horus engine, and also they can make extra negations on the field. We have Photon Lord and we have the Harbinger that sets up negations on their board, and also the Coach King as well. Very powerful on this line of play of Horus Orcus because it can fetch a lot of cards from the hand to the graveyard and also can draw cards so that you don't lose card advantages on this Horus Orcus. So yeah, this is a very strong deck for me. The only problem right now for this is Horus is very represented. I think Horus will get hits on the next ban list, on the January ban list, because Centurion definitely makes Horus for a living on their engine, and there's a lot of decks that are using Horus right now. So yeah. And then moving on, we have Centurion. I really don't agree with this one. I think that Centurion is kinda more powerful than just a B tier. I would rate this deck as an A tier. To be honest, yeah, A tier because Calamity is an absurd card right now. There's not many decks can play around Calamity, to be honest. Even though you do have the resources to play around Calamity, you are not guaranteed on winning against the Centurion because this deck has a lot of follow-ups that can OTK you next turn, and also the turn skipping mechanic almost of Calamity is very toxic right now. I think that Konami will address that, but not just right now because Centurion has been fairly new on the format. They will still reprint the AE cards of Centurion, I assume. Yeah. And also Calamity as well is very what do you call this, controversial right now. Many people have thought that Calamity will go into the ban section on this previous ban list, but it didn't happen. So yeah, it is the main reason why Centurion is still here. But yeah, it is a wonder or a question whether Centurion can perform without the Calamity on their deck. I think they have ways to do that, but yeah, the deck will still get more support from the following sets. So yeah, we will definitely count on Centurion to be more powerful on the following weeks or months that we have on the OCG October Banlist format. And then next we have Pendulum Magician. So yeah, this is very rightful and very justful on this B tier. I think that Pen Magi is a very strong deck right now. If it doesn't get interrupted, it will make a very powerful board with Barone, Savage, Apollousa, and SP Little Knight, and also a very strong going second potential as well because you can special summon a lot of monsters within the Pendulum mechanic. And also this deck can play conservatively if you are trying to play around Maxi. If you got Maxied or Drolled, you can just go into Baguska Pass or Dweller Pass. That can hurt a lot of graveyard decks on the format. So yeah, this is a very good deck right now on the format, and many people anticipate that Pendulum will get better because we do have now the Kirin new cards or support. So yeah, it is very what do you call this, subjective possibility that this deck may get even better if more Pendulum supports will come and Kirin will get unbanned, of course. So yeah, very just here on B tier. The only change that I would make on this B tier is putting Unchained. I think Unchained is very underrated right now. I think the treatment on Unchained on OCG is very alarming because it is very powerful right now on the TCG format. The only thing that halts Unchained on the OCG format is of course Maxi, because Maxi is the bane of Unchained. You will draw a lot when you are dropping Maxi against the Unchained. But other than that, the deck is very sufficient. It is a very powerful deck right now and quite hard to counter as well because most Untraps don't work against Unchained, to be honest. You just wait the DDD XYZ monster rank 6 on their field. So you preserve your Imperm, your negations on that, and other stuff on Unchained. So yeah, it is very hard to untrap Unchained. That's why I think that we should put more respect on Unchained, on putting it on B tier. But yeah, Moving on, we have A tier, we have Labyrinth. So, Labyrinth now got the Daruma Cannon, the new trap. I assume, yeah, the new trap. For Labyrinth, it is a very game-changing card for Labyrinth because most of the time, most often than not, Labyrinth is played with the usual furniture with the furniture monsters, 9 furniture monsters, and hand trap oriented build of Labyrinth with Ash Blossom, Maxi, Wailer, Imperm, those usual hand traps on the Labyrinth, even Nibiru and Ghost Ogre. But now they now have the Daruma Cannon, so you can really expect innovations within the Labyrinth to play around using the Arias so that they can incorporate the Arias package on the deck because Arias has been not that good, to be honest, on release for Labyrinth. Many people have thought, including me, that it will break the Labyrinth, to be honest, because when you read the card, it is very powerful, but in reality, it doesn't really help the furniture Labyrinth. But now they now have more access to more powerful trap cards, so we could see a resurgence of Arias and experimental phase for Labyrinth if Labyrinth will still go with the furniture or adapt with the new trap oriented and trap heavy build of Labyrinth. So it remains to be seen on which version is the best for Labyrinth right now. But yeah, I really do agree with this one. On A tier, I think Labyrinth is a very solid control deck right now on the format. So I couldn't disagree with this one on A tier. And the next we have Purely. So they have lost the one copy of Delicious Memory, and I think this is a very weak hit from Konami. I don't know what Konami is thinking. If they want to hurt Purely, I think they will not do that. The Delicious Memory into 2. I think they will put it at 1. But yeah, I think that Purely is still very strong on the format because Nor is very exceptional, a very phenomenal card on the format. When you go first with Purely, you're almost guaranteed a win already if your opponents doesn't have an answer to the Noir. And also this deck can play 15, 18 hand traps, very absurd amount of hand traps on the deck. So even though this deck can be second or lose the die roll, you can have a lot of options to play on your hand if you are going to interrupt your opponent with the hand traps. And also, I think Purely is still in a very good spot right now in the format. They just lost some sort of resiliency and consistency, but I do think that Purely is still very manageable on the format. That's why it is on A tier on this tier list, and I do agree with this one. So yeah, I think A tier on Purely is very just and rightful. And then moving on, we have Runic on S tier. I really think that this is really what do you call this, correct, because Runic also have been gutted by the Banlist, but it is really a tickle to them, or only what do you call this, not that really impactful, because Rivalry of Warlords is just an alternative floodgate for the Runic. Even though Runic patronizes and capitalizes on playing floodgates like Rivalry, they can just replace the one copy of Rivalry with something like a copy of Path of Duality to improve the consistency of Runic, or Path of Desires. So yeah, you can just shift with other cards on the losing of one copy of Rivalry, and even you can play more floodgates like Dimensional Fissure. So yeah, the ban list on Runic is not that rough, to be honest, and I definitely agree with this one because many people are now focusing on Centurion because Centurion is very problematic matchup right now because Calamity is Calamity. So many people are preparing against something like Centurion, something like Pendulum Magician, something like Purely, and Rescue Ace. So yeah, I think Runic is left unchecked on the side deck patterns and side deck options of many people right now. That's why if Runic is still unchecked, it will really dominate the format because when you don't have answers to the field spell of Runic that can draw for 3 cards all of the time and can deck you out with ease, I think this deck can really perform on that occasion when people don't respect Runic enough. I think this is a very good deck to capitalize on people's way of thinking on addressing this metagame right now. So yeah, S tier on Runic, very correct as well for me. And then next we have the Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. I do think that this is also very correct. Even though many people are now playing Purely, to be honest, I think that Rescue Sinful Spoils is the best deck on the format because they have only lost one copy of Airlifter, and it won't matter that much because it is only a one copy, and they can just play more consistency cards on the deck by just putting something like Sinful Spoils card and yeah, other hand traps. So yeah, I think this deck is still very consistent with the Sinful Spoils. Sinful Spoils is very absurd for Rescue Ace. I even thought that Konami made the Sinful Spoils just to buff the Rescue Ace. But yeah, I think this is a very strong deck right now to ignore if you are going to pick on what are the best deck right now in the format. It should be Sinful Spoils Rescue Ace. By no question, I do think that this is the most consistent deck out of all these decks here on this tier list. And this deck also has a very good ceiling. It can set 4. Just look at that, Turbulence can set 4 by just resolving its effect. So you get so much advantages and card value on Rescue Ace. So yeah, I think it is one of the traits of being the best deck. The deck that can generate more advantages with minimal resources, and this deck also can play around Maxi by just considering that this deck are summoning a few times only if they just want to resolve the Turbulence. And this deck is also flexible as well because this deck can incorporate the Synchro build. They can put up a board like Savage, Dragster, Arclight. So those powerful Synchro monsters are easily summoned by Rescue Ace. And if they want to be more conservative on playing, they can just use the SP Little Knight and Turbulence as well on the field because they can use the SP Little Knight's effect to dodge something like Veiler and Imperm to protect their Turbulence. So yeah, this is a very flexible deck right now on the format. The only thing that rattles this deck if they're playing the Link line of play is Evenly Match and Lightning Storm, of course, those board breaking cards. But other than that, this is a very strong deck right now. So on S tier, we have Rescue Ace Sinful Spoils. So yeah, that sums up our OCG Metagame tier list post October Banlist. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you do learn something on this video and hit the subscription button if you're not yet subscribed on my YouTube channel.
Fighting ways to get away, to see you again, see you again.